Hi, everybody. I'm Caryn Hartglass. You're listening to It's All About Food. We have a sweet show for you today. I'm bringing back Andrea Young from Sweet Vegan. Andrea, how are you?
Doing great. It's wonderful to be with you again and to be on your show. Thank you.
You're welcome. I've had you on twice, and I enjoyed meeting you the first time in the studio, and then the second time, I think we did a Zoom. And, my first question to you is, since that time we've just been through a lot as a planet.
Yes, we have.
We have, and you're still here, which is amazing for a small business to go through COVID and then inflation and who knows what else. So good for you. Congratulations to you. I want to hear how it's been and where you're going and what you have for us for Valentine's Day.
Well, thank you. It has definitely been a roller coaster, like life can sometimes be. But I think when you have an amazing product that
Mm,
is enabling people to feel good and
mm,
to have a great experience with, then I think you are already ahead of the game. So being plant-based and also being soy-free as well, nut-free,
mm.
gluten-free, and preservative-free gives us definitely an advantage. Why? Because you never know when you pick up something in a store and if you're giving it possibly as a gift, what that person might have as a limitation. So we're thrilled to be able to share sweet vegan chocolates and know that the most important thing in the entire world, as you well know, is taste and flavor, which we're abundant in.
Well, for people who maybe aren't concerned with allergies or food intolerances and don't read labels like I do fanatically, soy lecithin is a popular ingredient used in a lot of chocolate.
Yes, about 98% of chocolate has soy lecithin in it.
Wow. What do
Mhm.
you use instead?
We use a sunflower.
I see. Yeah, I have a bottle of sunflower lecithin in the refrigerator that I've used to make Yoko's recipe for vegan butter.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, so we're coming up to Valentine's Day, and you told me you have all kinds of goodies for us. Some of them are for us to eat, and some of them are for us to do.
Absolutely. Well, we have for the celebration of Valentine's Day our beautiful handcrafted heart boxes.
Mm,
And we celebrate Valentine's Day with our Midnight Passion chocolate,
mm,
which is all about deep dark chocolate, 70%. And it's a rich, creamy ganache. And our ganaches are made instead of with typical butters and creams, we make them with rice milk. And everything is made with organic ingredients.
mm.
And it's something that you can definitely share with your friends and family. Each little chocolate is individually wrapped and put in our beautiful heart boxes, and we tie them up with a beautiful red bow. So it's something that you can give as a gift, and it's something I'm sure everyone will want to be receiving for that special occasion of Valentine's Day.
Heart boxes are special, and I remember when I was young and my dad would buy my mother gifts. That kind of stopped after a period of time. I'm not quite sure. But when we were young, she always got the big heart box of chocolate, and we would get little boxes of chocolate. And it's really a very special memory. But I'm sure that the chocolates he got were nowhere near the quality that is in your boxes.
Ah, well, I think that being plant-based, you're already ahead of the game. And then choosing which we do the freshest of ingredients when we make our classic box, which is a four-piece, one of each one of our flavors, which would include our energizing espresso, our
Mm,
luscious lemon, which has won several awards from the Good
mm,
Food Foundation, as well as our Midnight Passion, which is in our heart boxes. And then we have our spicy ginger, which has a nice little kick to it. So you can get one of our boxes, our classic boxes, and we put a beautiful red ribbon on it because maybe you're not at that part of the relationship where you want to give somebody a heart just yet. So this is a beautiful 8-piece box, which 2 of each flavor, or we have our 15-piece box. So, and if you're really looking for something wonderfully special, then I would suggest our seasonal subscription box. And this is what I remember when we met the last time, that you were thrilled with these flavors and you actually got some, I believe it was for your mother,
Yep.
and I shipped them off to her.
Yep. They were
And
gone in seconds.
oh, well, that's a good sign, right?
She ate them all right away. Unfortunately, she has a memory problem, so she didn't remember, but they were gone. So I knew that she loved
Oh,
them because there weren't any left.
well, that's wonderful to be able to share and know that they're appreciated. So,
Hmm.
in our seasonal box, it's 4 times a year. And of course, we've got our spring collection, which is some of my very favorite flavors. So, we have our Raspberry Royale, which I
Mm.
think is the one that you really
Yes.
loved.
Yeah. Right.
And then we have our Strawberry Sensation, which is probably one of our most popular flavors in all of our boxes. And then we have our Energizing Espresso, which is definitely a classic and favorite. And then our new addition to the box is our Kiwi Crazy. And that one has a wonderful kiwi essence in it. And of course, we only use the freshest ingredients to create each batch of chocolate. And then we work with high school and college students in an internship program, and they help us put
Ooh,
all of our chocolates together and
that's
make them
brilliant.
look beautiful. Yes, we want to really
Brilliant.
give back and teach as part of
Hmm.
this process as well, Caryn, because it's so important to get people on board and have an experience with eating healthy.
And the students must love making chocolate or anything that has to
Absolutely.
do with it.
Oh, I think the most favorite part is taste testing.
There we go.
So,
Of
and
course.
we're always developing new things. So it's wonderful to be able to get young minds shaping, thinking, adding ideas and suggestions. It's really lovely.
Now, you mentioned at the beginning one chocolate that was 70%.
Yes,
And are they all that high or is it a
yes,
mix?
they all are that high. So we
Well,
try to
that's
make it
important.
consistent. Yes,
Hmm.
it is.
The thing that I feel about chocolate, well, the one good thing is I know that I'll be trying them again. So my listeners know, and I told you I'm on this SOS free uh, diet, salt, oil, and sugar free. So I'm not eating anything with sugar in it right now. And my plan is to lower my cholesterol and LDL and have my plaque checked to make sure I'm losing the plaque that they found in my carotid artery. I don't want to take a statin. And I believe that everything I'm doing is working to that end, and so that at some point I could loosen up a little and have treats. But when we have chocolate, it is important to have a high percentage of chocolate and less sugar. And that's kind of where our society has really gone a little insane, where most of the chocolates people eat today are just so high in sugar and milk chocolate, and that's where they're not good for you.
Right. It takes away the value of the chocolate when
Hmm.
you have all these additives and preservatives and things in it that don't really belong in chocolate, as you just so accurately said. And let's face it, chocolate should be a treat. There's something that you enjoy and you have a great experience with, and it adds quality of life. It adds enjoyment, and it's such a wonderful thing to share. So that's the thing I love most is sharing our chocolates with our community, sharing it with friends, family, and getting the word out so people can really have a nice experience with something that's plant-based and they don't even miss any of the other ingredients.
I'm remembering the first time I spoke to you, I think it was during the COVID time, and you were being very generous with boxes given to essential workers or people in your community.
Absolutely. You have such a good memory.
Yeah.
All businesses were really, for the most part, really suffering at that time, and we were no exception. But the idea was, even if you're not in a great place, how can you give back to the community at large and make a difference? So I thought, why don't I just have some fun, make chocolates, get this road going, and then give them to lots of people that are in the first responder community, such
Hmm.
as EMS, such as the hospitals, which were on the front line, and of course, our police and fire departments. So that's what I did. I gave chocolates away in all 5 boroughs, and we got lots of wonderful, wonderful stories out of it. We created blog posts, and, Yahoo did a wonderful article, Yahoo Finance, on how one small company can make a very big difference. And
Oh, I love that.
yes, and I was able to start with building an outreach of doing stories and making chocolates, and inviting people to come in and be a part of a virtual class, which is something we do still today. As a little gift idea, you could always buy a class for that special someone. And even if you're long distance, you could come in, the two of you together,
Mhm.
separately, and do a virtual class, and we could have some fun together making chocolate. So we do live classes and we do remote virtual classes. And it's a great way to get families together, parents and children, sweethearts, the whole gambit. It's available.
So I just love this so much. And I think I want to say that I love you just for doing everything that you're doing. I talk a lot on this show, especially recently, about the importance of community. Since COVID, people are afraid to go out. People aren't socializing in live events as much, and certainly streaming online Zoom. We're Zooming right now, and is a phenomenal tool. But just getting together with people is so important. So I'm glad you're offering a variety of different ways for us to connect and have fun together. And I'm a little frustrated. We're going into this new year. I'm I'm very concerned about our federal government and where it's going. And oof. I'm at a loss for words, actually. But I want to remember all those people that were so important to us during the COVID pandemic. And now we have all these conspiracy theories and people saying, oh, it didn't happen, or, it didn't happen like we perceived it. And there were just so many people hard at work that helped us. And, so I'm grateful for all of the things that you did, and just grateful for what you continue to do as a small business in the community. And we need these things. We need to be able to share love and to be able to gift people with something that has quality. I spoke just before the end of the year about gift giving, and we're so consumer based, and we buy so much crap.
Mm-hmm.
And I was recommending things that we could do to buy an experience. We can travel, or we can take a class. We could take a
Mm-hmm.
class together, because uh, all the studies we see from psychiatrists, psychologists, they talk about the people that are the happiest are the ones that are living experiences,
Mm-hmm.
not surrounding themselves in stuff. So the gifts of chocolate are something that don't stay around very long. We consume them, experience great pleasure, and then move on. It's a beautiful moment,
Absolutely. And it's meant to be shared.
and to be shared.
So that is such an important ingredient in everything we do. The passion, the love, the community, the quality ingredients, and making it life affirming by
Mm.
being a plant-based product.
And chocolate is good for us.
Yes,
Not the milky high sugar chocolate, but actual cocoa has nutritional value.
it certainly does. So I encourage people to read labels and get familiar with what is on them. And if there's things you can't pronounce, maybe that's a sign to look at a different label. But it's so important to be familiar. And then, of course, taste testing is one of the best parts of being in the chocolate industry. So I invite you to taste test Sweet Vegan. Check out our website at sweetvegan.nyc and follow us on social media. Be a part of our community. We would love to share and have you as a part of our newsletter and, sample, experience, share the love with family and friends, and make a difference in all that you do by making the best choices that you have available.
So tell me about some of the classes that are available and what happens in them.
Super. We have date night class, which is just couples, and it could be a couple of gals, could be a guy and a gal, it could be somebody you don't know, and we can sort of do a little matchmaking. But the
Mhm.
idea there is we come together and we dip some strawberries, and we also make our ganache chocolates and we coat them with different toppings. So we
Mm.
have our strawberries and we have our midnight passion process, and then we actually put it together as a little cake. So it's a solid little wonderful 2-inch square chocolate. And then afterwards, it's decorated with our strawberries, some dipped with chocolate, some not, to make it a variety. We'll open it up and cut it and share it together. And I'll bring usually some wine for us or something else, whatever your beverage of choice might be. And then we just sit down, enjoy some chocolate, enjoy some beautiful strawberries, and share a moment together of what it was like to make chocolate and to share a new friendship. So we invite you to sign up for our classes. We're offering them on Fridays and Saturday evenings, date night particularly. And again, they can be in person or they could be a virtual class. We
Mm.
also do classes that could be like for family gatherings. So we have some different recipes that we make where it might be a smaller item and then kids can be involved as well. So we make our little mini bites, and that's always a fun thing as well to share. So people can actually make little chocolates, keep them in the fridge, and then you can sort of have them throughout versus making more like a cake experience.
Mm. And where do these classes take place?
Well, they take place in our office, and it's only when we do the date night for couples. Everything else is online, or we come to you, which we can
Mm.
certainly do as long as it's in the tri-state area and
Oh,
we can get to
wow.
you. So,
That
because
sounds like a fun event for people that want to have a gathering.
it can be, especially for special celebrations like an upcoming birthday or an anniversary.
Hmm.
All of those things are wonderful to celebrate with chocolate. And then I leave you with some wonderful chocolate to enjoy for the rest of the evening, right?
Mm-hmm. And the ones online, do people have to get materials and you tell them what to get? How
It
does
can
that
be
work?
it can be a couple of different ways. We can put kits together for you and then
Mm.
we can send them out. We can give you a list of all the ingredients and you can get them. And we'll give you as much information as possible so you can have an experience of doing it together. Or you can come, and if it's the date night, we supply everything. So we have
Mm.
a few different options that are certainly available. And then, of course, we have our luxury experience. So, what the heck is that, right? This is our champagne truffles that we make,
Mm.
and we come to you with the champagne and our chocolates. We make it together. And at the end of the evening, we leave you with the chocolates and the bottle of champagne, and we sort of quietly clean up and leave, and you have the entire evening together as a romantic beginning for something special.
That's so sweet. How long do these classes last?
Usually a class is an hour or an hour and a half, depending on which class it is and how many participants that we might have.
Hmm. Mm. And if we're doing it at home, what kind of equipment do we need?
Actually, great question. You really don't need very many things. You need a couple of measuring bowls, you need a saucepan, you'll need the ingredients, which I can give you the list of, which consists of the chocolate and a little bit of rice milk, some sea salt, and then, of course, you'll need some fresh berries. I always recommend doing strawberries, which are wonderful, and fresh blueberries, which are also fabulous. And then I like to use some little toppings, which could consist of dried blueberries, dried raspberries, or strawberries, and of course, some coconut. So we munch all those little things up and then we make it into like a little powder. And then when we make our balls, we roll them in it. So each little 1 inch, circle ends up being like a little ball, and it's all covered with red for the strawberries or the raspberries. And then we have our blueberries and our coconut. So we're doing like a little red, white, blue celebration. And then we put them together and put them in bags for you, or we can make an arrangement as part of a display, which you can share with family and friends at a later date.
Do you have a particular place where you source your chocolate, or is there a company or chocolate that you recommend that people purchase when they're doing a virtual class with you online?
Well, I suggest that, depending on what your own particular concerns might be, to read the labels, of course. But Guittard makes some really good quality chocolate. So for a commercial brand, that's where I sort of steer people to. But I also allow them to make their own choices as well.
Okay. What else do you want to tell us for Sweet Vegan and Valentine's Day?
Well, all I can say is I think it's such a wonderful opportunity to get the word out. So we're offering some special treats with our Hearts Noir, which are little molds of chocolate, and they're in the shape of a heart. And there's two little blended hearts together. And so we sell those as little grab and goes, and we have them on our website, which is sweetvegan.nyc. So if you want something small, just to pick up and give to a friend, a little girlfriend, or someone that you work with, perhaps. These are really affordable and easy to enjoy. So that's one thing I would definitely suggest. I would also suggest to think about the cooking classes. It's still the beginning of the year. We can do not just chocolate making, but we can do savory classes as well. We can customize things, and we can show you really throughout time with a different package of cooking classes how to really change your eating habits one dish at a time. So we love to make it special for you with your particular dietary needs and your goals and your vision. And we can come up with some special classes for you, your family, friends. We can do corporate events where we love to be able to share things on a larger scale with a larger group. And we, of course, offer competitive prices, and we'll make it so that it's something that you really feel you're walking away with a good value.
What do you do for savory cooking classes?
Oh, well, I love to make Moroccan food. So I have a wonderful dish that I make with chickpeas and olives. And it's also made with some spices that we put together, cumin and cinnamon, and a little bit of sea salt. And it's also made with chickpeas for our protein. And we stir fry a lot of onions, and garlic goes in it as well. And then we add all of our flavorings, and we do our topping on the top, which is our seasons that go in. So it's a wonderful dish. I serve it over usually quinoa, but you can serve it over rice if you prefer, and then with a nice side salad. So we have two or three different types of salads that we do. One of my favorite salads is an arugula salad, and it's made with fresh pears, and we toast walnuts and or pecans is one of my favorites. So it's a very wonderful salad that complements the, Moroccan dish as well. And then we make a veggie burger, which is out of this world. So we make it with all kinds of wonderful veggies that we cut up and prepare. We do it with a rice as well. We can do it with other ingredients. So we can mix it up depending on what your needs might be. So those were a few dishes that have been very, very popular when we've done the savory dishes. And then we do a series. So you could do like a salad and a sandwich, or a salad and sort of one of our stew dishes. And then we could also combine it with some little chocolate on the side. So we can really come up with some fun things and do some meal planning for you as well. But I would say start with chocolate tasting with friends and family, because that's the one that I feel will give you the most pleasure immediately.
Now, what about, can people buy chocolate from you at a location, or is it only
Yes,
online?
we have different locations. Currently, we're selling at Westerly Natural
Yay! I
Market.
love Westerly. I didn't know you were
Absolutely.
there. Okay.
Yes, and that location is at 54th Street. It's 911 West 54th Street
At 8th
and
Avenue.
8th Avenue and 54th, and it's right on the corner. And we have little grab and go cellos, which has two chocolates in each one. So you can buy any of our classic flavors there, our energizing espresso, our luscious lemon,
Mm.
our midnight passion, or our spicy ginger. So they're easy to grab. They're right at each cash register. So we also have been selling at the Hilton Hotel at 54th and 6th Avenue. They have a shop
Nice.
there. So we've been there. We also are selling at the airport at JFK Airport.
Wow.
So that's a wonderful place to be able to go and pick things up on your way out of town, or if you're making a quick return back into JFK.
Mm.
So we sell at three different terminals there at JFK, and that's through another organization, another company that buys us, and then they put it in their gift shops. So it's
Oh,
a
wow.
wonderful way to get the word out because it's something lovely to be able to grab as a gift to when you're going to somebody's home and you're traveling, or just something for yourself when you're hitting the airplane and you want
Hmm.
a little pick me up and a snack, and you know what's on the airplane won't necessarily be that nutritious or healthy for you.
Well, good for you for getting in the airport and getting in the Hilton. That's really amazing. Do you know what terminals you're in JFK?
Yes, I believe it is at Terminal 4 at JFK,
Hmm.
and I think Terminal 2.
Okay. I'm going to be there on Sunday,
Oh, really? How lovely.
so maybe I can pick up some gifts.
Absolutely. That would be so wonderful.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm very proud of you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. It's always a joy to share the chocolate. It's always a joy to grow as a person in the business and to share everything that we're learning with each other, because that's how we really make a difference in the world.
Hmm. Mm. I'm just wondering when the students train with you, are there anything that surprises them about making chocolate or making chocolate the way you do?
Question. I think a lot surprises them. I think they're surprised that chocolate that's totally plant-based can taste as
Good.
amazing as it does. I think we all sometimes grow up with stereotypes and things that what we expect something to be. And so we're definitely crashing those stereotypes. Each student that walks in the door gets an opportunity to taste test. We do them on camera, and they also
Mm.
get a chance to make suggestions of how to make something even more delicious. So I think that that's a great way to have people experience something that's plant-based that wouldn't necessarily be plant-based otherwise.
I have to say I have an unforgettable memory of when I was a child. I think it was our class. Yeah, we went to the Hershey factory in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
And I'm not promoting Hershey. I think they're a terrible company and they do terrible things. But they gave me this wonderful memory. I remember the giant vats of chocolate just being stirred all the time, and the smells were just phenomenal. And then the little kisses that were dropping down in the lines like little soldiers. It was a total fantasy for a child to just be surrounded by all this chocolate. So yeah, I think the ability to be in a place where you're making chocolate is just a great treat.
I think so too. And I think it's about, like you said, using all your senses,
Mm,
the aroma that you experience, the visual experience of the chocolate being stirred, and then, of course, the taste experience.
right.
And I think we evolve over time. We develop new flavor profiles of things that make us happy and that we enjoy. And we can be more selective as we get more exposure, try different things. So that's why I always am encouraging. We're going to be doing a class coming up on the 25th, and that's going to be all about chocolate making. We're going to do a donation of our time to vegan living, and they're going to be offering some of our chocolates to be raffled off. So
Mm.
if any of your viewers are interested, they could certainly contact us. They can go to Eventbrite and check it out. But it's a wonderful opportunity to get a little taste test and get a free recipe and to experience something with a community of like-minded people and to be open to a group that wants to make changes. And here we are in January, fast approaching February, but it's such a wonderful time to start out fresh with trying something new and experiencing it, and then sharing that with family and friends that may not think something that's plant-based can taste so amazing. We currently have well over 585 all 5-star reviews
Wow.
on Google. So
Mm.
right there, it says we've got to be doing something right. And it's
Okay,
all
everybody,
about,
you need to run to sweetvegan.nyc.
yes,
Right? Sweetvegan.nyc. Obviously, we're not going to run, but we're going to go to our phone or our computer and type as fast as we can to get to sweetvegan.nyc. Check out the products and the classes. I'm sure there's something there for everybody.
absolutely. And we can
Thank you.
create something. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for it's so good to see you again. I'm glad you're doing well and doing wonderful things.
And thank you for inviting me 3 times. This is fabulous.
Yes, well, if we had coats like on Saturday Night Live, you'll be very close to getting your 5-timer jacket. We'll have to have you back a couple more times for that, but we don't do jackets, so I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care. Be well. Bye. That was Andrea Young of Sweet Vegan with some really sweet, lovely ideas for Valentine's Day or any time of the year where you want to gather and do something fun and create a lovely experience. I want to take a moment to talk about cocoa and chocolate and the prices, because how much we pay for a certain product is certainly going to influence how much we buy them and how often we buy them. So let's take a minute to talk about cocoa futures. I'm not into investing at all on this type of exchange. I don't know how good it is for society to have a commodity market where the prices fluctuate based on a lot of different parameters that really have nothing to do with the everyday person. But when it comes to cocoa futures, let's just talk about that for a minute. The cocoa contract, I'm reading from ICE.com. The cocoa contract is the world benchmark for the global cocoa market. The contract prices the physical delivery of exchange-grade product from a variety of African, Asian, and Central and South American origins to any of 5 U.S. delivery ports. It's based on a contract size of 10 metric tons. The price quotation is in dollars per metric tons. And there's all kinds of other parameters involved. But I remember talking to Simon Lester from Pasha earlier last year in April, and he was telling me that the price of cocoa is doubling, and that will affect the price we pay in the store for our individual little bits of cocoa and our cocoa treats and our chocolate and all of that. And as a result, I ended up buying a lot of Pasha chocolate chips because I thought, okay, I want to be ready, and I just thought I'd keep an inventory of chocolate. It turns out that may not have been the best idea because I'm not eating sugar right now. So I had all these bags of chocolate chips and white chocolate chips, which are great. I love them, but I'm not eating them. So I ended up giving them away or making treats that I give away to people. But let's just talk about the price for a minute. So right now, U.S. cocoa futures, where are they at? And I'm looking online at a number of sites, investing.com. The price has been fluctuating quite a bit. I am looking at barchart.com, and it is saying that cocoa prices for January 10th, 2025, I'm seeing a cash of 10,579, and there are projected numbers for the future. And some of them are actually going down. I can't say that I understand them. But if we look over the current year, when I was talking to Simon Lester, the price was up quite a bit, and then it dipped, and now it's coming back up again. So the price is going up and down and up again, but it's still much higher than it used to be. And that's the point. So when we look at average prices for cocoa worldwide, I'm looking at Statista.com. They have a chart from 2014 to 2025 showing US dollars per kilogram when it comes to cocoa prices. 10 years ago, 2014, it was 3.06. It dropped in 2027 in the twos, 2.03 to 2.39 in 2022, and that includes a pandemic. And then in 2023, it went to 3.28. 2024, the average prices went to $5 per kilogram. And then it's projected right now to be about 4 in 2025. And we'll see where it goes. But there's a lot of reasons for these fluctuations. We're seeing a lot of price increases in a lot of food. But when it comes to chocolate, there are numerous things that are controlling the prices. So part of it are the traders, the people that buy cocoa beans like Cargill, Olam, Barry, Calabout. They pre-buy beans with government contracts ahead of growing seasons. Okay, that can be a good thing because it helps traders and food producers to manage risk. So, for example, a trader can expect to sell products at a higher price in the future, and they need to protect themselves for a risk in case the prices drop and they can't sell at the price they had expected. So what they do is they play games. The traders dictate the prices of physical beans, influencing the price of chocolate bought by consumers and the revenues of cocoa producing nations and the income received by farmers. I'm reading from an article in Reuters about cocoa futures and how they work. Still, there are more things that are in effect affecting cocoa today, not just the traders and the speculators, but there's also the environment. Cocoa supplies hit an historic low last year. There were adverse weather and disease that hit trees in West Africa, which crippled production. And then there's mismanagement, smuggling, higher production cost, a number of things that are negatively affecting the industry. Personally, I am not concerned about the Hershey Corporation. I mentioned them earlier in the program and the fond memories I had visiting their factory when I was a child. But in a report by Zacks.com, they write that Hershey's is operating in a challenging environment thanks to historically high cocoa prices and a stretched consumer base which continue to pressure its result. And I was surprised to read that total snacking consumption softened in the third quarter of 2024 as people prioritize value and budgeted for meals. And consumer behavior has shifted toward value seeking due to economic pressures, prioritizing budgets for essentials, reducing foot traffic to convenience and drugstores where Hershey brands are over-indexed. So Hershey's is struggling. Their sales declined 1.4% in the third quarter last year. And they anticipate things will decline in the future. Now, why don't we like Hershey's? Well, We don't like Hershey's for numerous reasons. One is they source their cocoa from the Ivory Coast, where it is believed children are used as slaves to harvest the cocoa beans. And the quality of their chocolate is not very good. Most of their products have a high amount of sugar. They certainly include dairy in their chocolates. And while we're talking about the price of cocoa and how it affects consumers, I also want to I thought this was interesting to see which countries consume the most chocolate. Now, some of this I think is intuitive, but I just wanted to share. Do you know the country that consumes the most chocolate? I'm giving you a second to think about it. Luxembourg, of course, is the largest consumer of chocolate with a daily consumption of 27.15 grams per capita. And then we have other countries like Switzerland, who consume a great deal of chocolate. 22 pounds, 8.8 kilograms of chocolate every year. I'm talking in kilograms because the worldpopulationreview.com in their article presents these numbers in kilograms, and maybe one day the United States will go to the metric system, but that's 22 pounds. And Austria comes in second to Switzerland at about 20 pounds of chocolate every year per person. And where does the United States come in? We talked last week about how obesity is on the rise. And is it because we're consuming a lot of chocolate? Well, we're not anywhere near Switzerland and Austria or Luxembourg, for that matter. But in the United States, we consume about 4.5 kilograms of chocolate every year, or about 10 pounds of chocolate per person per year. This worldpopulationreview.com article adds, when talking about the United States, that the United States is not exactly known for having the same quality chocolate as some of its European counterparts. The United States is known for Hershey's chocolate. There it is, Hershey's again, which is one of the most recognizable brands in the world. And furthermore, there is a Hershey's theme park that people like to visit every year. The United States also imports a fair amount of chocolate from major European chocolate companies, including Table Round and Lindt. That's from worldpopulationreview.com. What does it all mean? People like chocolate. Chocolate can be expensive. And the question is, do you want to consume chocolate? How do you want to consume it? What kind of quality do you expect in your chocolate, and how much do you want to pay for it? What I always say is, I believe that we should support companies and products that are high quality. And that quality, to determine the quality, we have to consider not only the taste, how it affects us internally with our health, but also how the companies treat its workers, where they source the ingredients to make their products. These are all important parameters, and sometimes it's not easy to find out. But there are more organizations discovering or reporting on where things come from, so we can get a sense of how to be informed about our purchases. And usually the companies that create the highest quality product are going to be more expensive. I can't say that I do it all the time, but I tend to, when it comes to food, and also perhaps when it comes to other products like housewares, pots and pans and things that I buy to prepare my food, I want to buy the high quality product. It may be more expensive, but it will last longer, and it will be better for me and my community and the world at large overall. And that's That's not the way most people think. Most people think, I want something, I want it now, I want the best price, and they're not going to concern themselves with really anything else. And I don't want to blame anyone. It's just we have not been socialized to think about long term, especially in the United States. We've been encouraged to consume, and that impacts the short term, how we're feeling in the moment, with not much regard to how it will impact the environment in the future. But when it comes to responsible eating and living, which is the name of the nonprofit that my partner Gary and I co-founded back in 2011, I want to encourage people to be as mindful as they can with the products that they consume. And going into 2025, where we see the climate shifting to be more conservative, to be more polarized, to unfortunately be more hateful, where things feel like they're out of control. But there are things right now that we can control, and we can control what we purchase to the best of our ability. So I encourage finding out more about the products that you like. And if you're interested in getting a product, find out more about it and weigh the pluses and the minuses. And I will admit, probably no product is perfect. It's so hard to have a small business and keep it going. Sometimes people have to compromise. There are just so many things to consider. I do love chocolate, and I think a small amount of quality chocolate goes a long way and is far more satisfying than eating tons and tons and tons of chocolate that's high in sugar or high in dairy, which I personally would not consume. And there are many different ways to consume chocolate. So we were talking about the lovely sweet vegan chocolates that are offered by Andrea Young's company. I also want to talk about the way that I like to consume chocolate. And I have moved more towards the savory version, the unsweetened version. So a number of things that I really enjoy. I like to make a hot cocoa. I think I've mentioned this before. But I take 2 tablespoons of organic cocoa and I whisk it with a half a cup of hot water. I also add about 1/4 to a half teaspoon of a concentrated mushroom powder. Now, there are a lot of new beverages out there where they're mixing mushroom with cocoa. And you could do this yourself. And the thing is that mushroom powders, concentrated mushroom powders, we know that mushrooms are so healthy. I call them natural chemotherapy. They're great for fighting cancer. So I like to, and plus mixing the mushroom powder with the cocoa, they're both dark brown. So visually, they go very nicely together. I know when I add the mushroom powder to other things, like if I'm making a soup and the soup naturally had a light colored broth, instantly it makes it like dark. And it really depends on what you're making and what the aesthetic is, whether you want something to appear dark or light, because visually that can affect how you feel it's going to taste, whether it does or not. Anyway, I take the cocoa powder, the mushroom powder, I mix it with half a cup of hot water. And then I add to it a half a cup of my soy milk, which is unsweetened. It's just soybeans and water. A little vanilla, maybe 1/4 teaspoon. And whisk that all together. And I love it. It's thick. It's like an espresso kind of in consistency, but it's cocoa and it's not sweet. Now, if you really need a little sweetness in the SOS free land that I'm living in right now, salt, oil, and sugar free, We have jars that we make of apricot butter. I've been talking about it for, 15 years plus, where we take organic dried apricots and cook them with water and blend them and make a nice apricot butter. It's a great sweetener. Or we make date paste. I might add a little of that if I'm feeling a little less in the mood for bitter and I really need a little comforting sweetness. I'll add that. But for the most part, I enjoy it unsweetened. A lot of people drink coffee unsweetened black. Why can't we consume cocoa unsweetened? And when you do that, you really enjoy the full spectrum that cocoa has to offer. So I encourage you to do that. And then I came up with a recipe some time ago called breakfast beans. Breakfast black beans. And this is like a fun, different way or something different for breakfast. I know in our society here in the United States, we don't normally have beans for breakfast, but beans are a great source of everything: fiber, protein, carbohydrates. I like to take black beans, cocoa powder, might add some seeds like pumpkin seeds, a little bit of cinnamon, and then a dried fruit like apricots, organic, of course, unsulfured, and a banana. And I have this recipe. I'll post it, breakfast black beans. And it uses all those ingredients. And it's just really fun and satisfying. If your life is complicated or not, this is just a great recipe. You can make a bunch of it. You could put it in jars. You could take it with you and have it to go. And it's not just for breakfast. Of course, you can have it any time of the day. But it's just a fun, satisfying recipe using cocoa in a way that you might not have considered. I think Gary and I last week talked about making ice cream from cashews and dates and vanilla and water. A very simple recipe, but amazingly delicious. And I've just posted that recipe. I'll include it if you're interested. And now, of course, I'm thinking I need to add cocoa to that recipe. And it'll just make an amazing chocolate ice cream. We have another chocolate ice cream recipe. You're probably familiar with making quick vegan ice creams in a Vitamix or a high-powered blender. We have one that has cashews, cocoa powder, non-dairy milk, vanilla, dates, strawberries. I like the mix of cocoa and strawberries, and plus berries are so good for us. But that makes a fun treat. We call it chocolate ice cream. But now I'm thinking about making this newer version based on our very simple recipe of cashews and dates. It'll be richer and just more decadent. I'm not telling anyone to do an SOS-free diet. It's not the easiest thing, I'll admit it. But on a salt, oil, and sugar-free diet, when you're eating big salads, minimum 2 tablespoons of flaxseed every day, and are exercising on a regular basis, like daily, an hour or more, you can have these treats and not feel one bit of guilt. And if we're on the subject of weight and concern about what the right thing is to eat or not to eat, we're 2 weeks into 2025. How are your resolutions going? If you have a weight loss resolution, how is that going? I mentioned the last few weeks that I am promoting a program by Ella Majors. She was on the podcast in 2024, and she has something called the Cravings Cure Challenge. I'm mentioning it again. It's going to start in February 3rd. And you can sign up. It's free, okay? It doesn't cost anything. And you might get something out of it. It's a free 4-day live Cravings Cure Challenge, February 3rd to the 6th. And it's designed to help people to take control of their cravings for good. And I'm posting this in the podcast page. You can find out more about it. She talks about true hunger and how to reprogram the biological and emotional patterns driving cravings, and a proven method to stop cravings in their track. No program is for everyone, and no food regimen is perfect for everyone. I know what works for me. I'm just suggesting this because I like what Ella Majors has to offer. So if you're interested, you could sign up. Look at the podcast post here. I'm not sure where you're listening, but you could always find it at responsibleeatingandliving.com if you're not seeing the information where you listen to your podcasts. I also want to remind you once again, I'm doing this on a regular basis now, if you can rate us on your podcast app, wherever you listen to podcasts, wherever you listen to It's All About Food, please give us a thumbs up or 4 or whatever the rating is, stars. Post a comment. We would really appreciate your participation in that. It will help us. And as you may know, I'm bragging. We were listed in FeedSpot's food podcasts to listen to, the top 70 in 2024. Well, we listed at number 14, and I'm looking right now at FeedSpot for 2025, and we're at 13. Can we keep going to 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? I'm glad to just be mentioned on a list like this. But you can help us by sharing the podcast and by ranking us. Thank you for that. The last thing I want to say before we go is that my partner Gary and I will be traveling, and we are off to London, Paris, and Aix-en-Provence to visit friends and to do some of the things we like to do. I kind of need a break and to get away. So I'm not sure that I will have a new podcast for you in a couple of weeks. But if I do, great. And if I don't, well, we'll be back in February. I have a number of authors that I will be interviewing that I have got queued up. I have to read their books, like Frostbite by Nicola Twilley. Frostbite, How Refrigeration Changed Our Food, Our Planet, and Ourselves. I know it's going to be fascinating, and we'll focus on that in February. And Zoe Weil, who is just one of the most awesome individuals on the planet. We're going to be talking all about her and her most recent book, The Solutionary Way, but so much more. So I'm looking forward to that in February. But for now, enjoy your chocolate and have a very delicious week. Bye-bye.